Never control yourself. What makes you think you can control these things?
You're in control. You be head of the council. You choose. And you choose quickly, too.
I should have put you down myself. Personally.
You know, I never understood that. Why did you judge me? Why did you judge me?
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the revolution.
You betrayed the law!
Law!
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome. It is episode 7 of FTL Radio. I'm your host, Chris, and with me always is my buddy Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You're going to have to excuse my voice. I am coming down with the Comic-Con flu, I think.
That's right. You were at Comic-Con in, what, Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore Con. It was a good time. My buddy went, and he's a huge comic book fan, and this, unlike San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, is a true comic book convention. People come in with their long boxes and buying and selling comics, bartering back issues and trade paperbacks and all that good stuff.
You know, it kind of makes me wish I was a comic book collector. I mean, I read some comics. I go sometimes to the comic book store. There's one literally down the block from me, but that makes me wish I really read them, because you know it's you read a good comic and then maybe you trade with someone else. They've read a good comic. It just sounds so cool.
It is really interesting to see just how many people are really into that kind of stuff. I mean, the stereotype is that comics are for kids, but then you realize that those kids grow up and they're still into comics.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've read this a few years back, this graphic novel actually, and I don't remember what it was called. Oh, it was called Sleeper, I think. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
It was called Sleeper, I think, comic.
Never heard of Sleeper.
All right, so it was a comic book series written by Ed Brubaker, who's I think is actually a pretty well known writer. He's done Captain America, Catwoman, Criminal, Daredevil, Uncanny X-Men. He's done a lot.
I've heard of all those things.
Yeah, he's done some. He's won some awards. And basically, it's about this dude who works for this secret organization who has to go undercover in a criminal organization.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is so it's a criminal spy superhero neo-noir story. It was DC Comics and Wildstorm, and it was so. Anyways, it was cool. But what was cool about it was not meant for kids. Like, when I moved desks at work, one of the guys who sits across from me, or his office is across from my old cubicle. His kids are 10 and 11, and I had a whole bunch of comics in my drawer. I said, "Hey, do you want to give this to your kids?" He goes, "Are they appropriate?" And I looked down. I said, "All right, this one is." I stopped at Sleeper and said, "This one, no. I'm gonna put this one back in my drawer, because there are naked women.
Yeah.
There are drugs.
Okay.
There's serious blood, gore, and violence."
Well, and that's the thing, is that comic books, yes, do have that reputation of being just for kids, but then you look back at back in the 80s when Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, and Watchmen was not just a, funny paper. Mm-hmm. It was a real commentary on, society and mutually assured destruction in the Cold War. And it was very intelligently written, and it was a comic book. Mm-hmm. It was a series of comic books that were compiled into this big epic story, and it's one of, to this day remains one of the best comics ever written. Now,
can I just say one thing that does bother me about comics, and then we'll get off the topic, because I love comics. I know a lot of our listeners love comics.
Yeah.
It's the over-sexualization of the female.
Well, yeah, you realize that most of these are written by dudes.
No, and I get that. But if you think about it, I don't know if you saw the cover to the new Spider-Woman.
I have. How she has the mount butt cheeks.
Yeah, so she's not wearing a costume. Someone painted that on.
Oh yeah. No, it's ridiculous.
So and look, I get it. It's awesome, but that's why I'm really, really, really loving the fact that Thor is a woman.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting, having a strong female character, because that's you're right, because there's a lot of over-sexualization of women, and half of these, you go to these comic book conventions and you walk down Artist Alley, where all the artists are.
Yeah.
And most of them are peddling their sexy-looking ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because that's they're guys, and they were probably guys that grew up kind of, a little perverted like the rest of us, and drew what they wanted to
It's
draw.
probably the same guys who created the concept of the friend zone, which we're not going to get into because I don't. Whatever. Anyway, so some science fiction news.
Yay.
There is an upcoming movie coming out, or I guess it's in the works. James McTeague, who is the director, or who brought us.
V for Vendetta.
Well, yeah, I found this article on sciencefiction.com, and V for Vendetta, when it's really V for Vendetta.
Yeah, they didn't do such a good job proofreading.
Anyway, they have a new production company. Well, actually, yeah, Joe Gata.
Scanbox.
Yeah, Scanbox Studios. Joe Gata and Joni Sigvatsson. I guess he's Swedish.
Sounds it. Hinger-dinger.
So basically, he's making a movie called, quote, Alien Sleeper Cell. That's probably not going to be the name of it, but
Working title.
yeah. And basically the idea, I guess, of it comes in with there's the FX show The Americans, as well as the Bourne Identity films. And if you've never seen either of those, The Americans is basically a couple of Soviet spies back in the 80s sneaking into living life in America. And then the Bourne Identity, obviously, is the Bourne Identity. So what this movie is the concept that before an alien invasion would ever happen, you would need to collect information. The best way to collect information is boots on the ground. Well,
Sleeper cells.
Sleeper cells, exactly. So boots on the ground, obviously not possible because armies of soldiers landing is not good. But I mean, it's sort of another example of this is in our quote fight against terrorism, there are effectively sleeper cells in the United States that are terrorist cells waiting to be woken up, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie basically is a couple of aliens who come to Earth, whose purpose is to blend in and carry out covert operations.
And now I'm confused. I read the article. It was never really super clear. Is this an alien movie? As in, like, the Alien?
No. See, yeah, that's the thing, is I don't get the feeling that this is an Alien movie. And I never got that feeling, and maybe because I don't know Alien that well, but I never got the feeling that Alien was thousands of aliens. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, they're a swarm. They're a swarm species.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that is sort of their thing. But at the same time, I mean, they're not really ever very clear in this. Apart from the fact that it's called Alien Sleeper Cell, I mean, when I hear the word alien, one alien pops into my head unless you sort of give me a descriptive term along with it.
Yeah, I think it might be that alien if it was called Alien Sleeper Cell.
Yeah.
I think this literally just means it's Alien Sleeper Cell. Like, it's just a bunch of aliens who are sleeper cells. And there was a show, I've talked about it a few times, called V, which was this concept.
Yeah, that's true.
And, there are these aliens who somehow are able to use human flesh.
Fucking lizard people.
Yeah. And they're able to use human flesh to hide, and they're able to hide in, plain sight, and they're able to collect information and carry out covert operations. And that's what this kind of concept is, which is, it's kind of cool because, what's interesting to me about it is, it's an invasion movie, so obviously if this happens, the culmination of it is going to be, holy shit, there's a lot of ships in the sky.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if they're planning another movie, because it sounds like that's like Sleeper Cell. That's one story to tell.
Yeah.
But then there's the one would think the inevitable invasion. So I wonder if there's more in the works, or if this is literally just let's see how this goes.
Well, it's possible that that's the case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it all depends on how it does. I mean, money talks, and if it doesn't do well, it won't. And if it does do well, it will.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it's probably going to be at least two movies. Sleeper Cell, the humans, maybe catch on to the idea that the sleeper cell is there, and then the second movie is, oh shit, the sleeper cell has just succeeded, and oh my god, there's a lot of aliens here.
Unless there is no second movie and the sleeper cells just succeed, and then it just ends and fades to black as the invasion comes into distance.
I mean, that's a cool way of doing
That could be
it.
a hell of an ending.
That's a cool way of doing it because, I don't, I read an article today, not an article, a story on Reddit's FYH or HFY, sorry. And what that is that's their subreddit, Humanity Fuck Yeah. No, dude, I'm telling you, there's some awesome stories here. And
That's awesome.
basically the premise is you write a story where humanity is pretty much like the badass. So I read this story today about, this alien, goes to this embassy type thing in space and is marched in or walks in, and he's kind of short and he's got 2 arms with 5 appendages on it, or 5 digits, and he's got hair on his face and his head, but he's wearing this weird synthetic fabric material, and blah blah blah, and it turns out that it's humans, and we're able to do pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But so what it is, it's a humanity fuck yeah story. But what I find sometimes enjoyable are stories where no, humanity not fuck yeah, humanity holy shit, we're screwed.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, from Hollywood and from all these things, we've come to expect a happy ending from things. But it's always interesting when a writer or director chooses to have that kind of ending of, wow, no, we're just fucked.
Yeah. And I'll touch more on that later in the show when we talk about extinction and
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
things like that. Yeah, I've got a lot of words to say about that.
I don't doubt I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, but
But so, anyways,
Just-
this show should be cool.
yeah.
Whenever,
Well, it's a movie,
yes, it's a movie.
so but this may or may not, unconfirmed, be Alien, Ridley Scott Alien. But what we do know is that 3 new Terminator movies are on their way.
I am so unsure about this. Part of me loves it. Part of me hates it. And the reason I hate it is because Jesus Christ, Hollywood, make something new.
Yeah, I mean, what? How many Terminators are there now? 4, including the
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Christian Bale one.
Christian Bale did Terminator.
Yeah, he did the Terminator. Oh God, it was a couple years ago. It wasn't that good,
Yeah, apparently I didn't see it.
but it took place like in the future during the war.
Wow.
Yeah, it was- I mean-
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
It was okay.
exactly. That's how good it was.
It didn't really do anything for me. But no, basically what Paramount Pictures has said is that all 3 of the reboot sequels will be released between 2015 and 2018.
It's a tight window.
It's a tight window. The first one's due out next July.
Okay.
The next one will come out May 19th, 2017, and then the last one will come out June 29th, 2018.
And are they gonna ever explain why they keep making their go-to Terminator model older and older?
Yeah, I don't really know. Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be in this.
It has to be. The movie kind of fit, like, because I'm not sure if you know this or not. Christian Bale, this Terminator Salvation did not have Arnold in it. At the end of it, it had a 3-dimensional model of Arnold.
I remember
But
that.
he never spoke, and he was buck naked, and it was kind of funny. It was good, like, oh look, it's that guy who was in those movies, but not really.
Well, he was the governor at the time, right?
I think so. It was 2009. I don't know when he ended his bout in politics.
Yeah,
But that was definitely when he was on hiatus from motion pictures. I think his first one back was probably the Expendables 2, which was only like 2 years ago or a year ago.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, that is why he is known. I'll be back. That's why he's known. So I'm not totally against it. But what's a little bizarre to me is these are reboots. Like, these are literally reboots. So Amelia Clark of Where Are My Dragons will play.
Sounds familiar.
I don't really know. Look it up.
I'm Googling her.
Yeah, is Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor.
Jason Clark, who is in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, will play her
Jason
son,
Clark.
John Connor. And then Arnold is back as T-800. It's actually funny. Timmy asked me to let...
Oh, that's how I know Amelia Clark. It's fucking Khaleesi.
Really?
It's fucking Khaleesi, brother.
Oh, so I'm reading the article about this, and it's Amelia Clark of Where Are My Dragons fame. That's what she means by. That's what you mean by. Oh man, I didn't really read Game of Thrones.
Well, I also just don't know the names of the actors and actresses from that show, which might be horrible, but I now know Amelia Clark is fucking Khaleesi.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, so Timmy wanted me to let him know when we talked about Terminator, because he loves Terminator.
Oh, okay.
So
Timmy loves Terminator, really?
he's obsessed with Terminator.
I never gathered that from knowing him since 2006.
Well, you know, it's funny. When I told him we were doing a podcast about science fiction, it was right around when Snowpiercer came out. And he was like, oh, what do you think of that movie, Snowpiercer? I'm like, you care about Snowpiercer? Like, I was like, that's a science fiction movie. He's like, yeah, man, I love science fiction. I'm like, I lived with you for 3 years. How did I not know this?
That man is a conundrum built inside an enigma. I don't even know.
So anyway, he to the world, he is the nicest guy you'll ever meet. But
Yes.
he apparently hid everything really well. But anyway, so this movie will be fun. I'm sure I'll convince him in 2 years, or actually next summer, to come to the theaters with me to see the movie. So that'll.
Oh, I'm sure it's not going to be a tough sell at all to see Arnold back in action.
So
I'm excited just for that, really. I'm less excited for the franchise of Terminator, and I'm more excited for just Arnold being back in that role.
well, you know, it's interesting is they're doing this with a lot of movies. You know, they reboot Dredd.
Yeah. Oh, and for the record, that was great. If no one saw Dredd 3D, go watch Dredd 3D.
Yeah,
It was really good.
That was pretty good. I saw that a couple times, I think. Apparently, they're doing a prequel. So they're doing a second movie, but it's going to be a prequel to Dredd.
Of Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
Oh, I you know what?
Look,
Back to Comic-Con or whatever, I can support anything behind Judge Dredd. I love that character. I love those comics. I love everything about Judge Dredd.
yeah.
Please more Dredd.
You know, it's funny. I literally saw the headline right before we got on to record this, so I could be wrong, but I think that's what they're talking about. Is maybe they'll make a prequel about him.
For the record, I've already decided the clip for the intro of this show is going to be "You Betrayed the Law." It's happening. I'm sorry. It's happening.
Oh, I don't think it could be that. We barely talked about Dredd.
Doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Unless we could top it. Unless you can top it. It's your job now because I've made up my mind.
So we've officially crossed into the path of comfortable recording podcasters because now we're just rambling.
Whatever.
Whatever. So anyway, I mean, they did a reboot of RoboCop, which
I didn't see.
I almost watched it yesterday. I almost convinced Victoria to watch it, but then we instead, much to her dismay, we watched Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Tried doing that once.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I watched the first episode yesterday, or no, it was Saturday, and I was like, this is awful.
Yeah.
I watched the second one and went, this is awful. And then I watched the third one and I was like, okay, all right, okay. And then I watched the fourth one and the fifth one. I was like, yep, all right, I'm hooked. And I'm actually hooked to it. Because,
Really?
well, it's funny. You know all the cliches of science fiction?
I do.
Where do they come from?
Well, I mean, yeah,
like-
probably from Star Trek.
Right. You know, so all the cliches that we bitch about, you know, like I was annoyed with I stopped watching Battlestar Galactica because it was
Okay.
boring to me, you know, and I'm sure that's going to bother some people, but it just really bored me. But there were some cliches in that, you know, and all the cliches that we see in science fiction, they come from a time when they weren't cliche.
Yeah, well, I mean, at one point, a cliche was just an original idea that got tired.
Right. You know, so like I'm watching this and like you've got Data, Mr. Data or whatever. He's a cool fucking dude. He's an android who's
Is
complete.
that LeVar Burton?
I don't think so. No, that's Jody.
Oh, see, I don't know.
Yeah, LeVar. He's the reading guy, right?
He's the guy with the weird glasses.
Yeah, that's not Data. Data is kind of like a yellowish skinned android who is fully operational.
Oh, never mind. I know Data. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, in the last episode, or no, in the second episode, he sleeps with a woman.
Or
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? This is a robot, but it's not. Anyway, so the show is actually coming to me.
fully operational.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got, you know, Patrick Stewart in this.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best part.
It's starting to come on to me a little bit. Basically what I've heard is if I can get past the first season, it's going to get really good.
Okay.
And once I get into the middle or towards the end of the third season, it's really good. So I'm going to try. I feel like I have to.
I don't know. Any show that takes 3 seasons to get going is.
Well, I mean,
I got shit to do, man.
yeah, but I mean, we're talking 1987. So 1987, this was a good show. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was picked up for a second season. It did well, and actually, you know, I read about the business behind it on how I think it was Paramount how they released it. They didn't release it to one channel. They released it to hundreds of channels
That's smart.
all at once.
Get exposure.
Yeah, you know, to the point where 95% of the country was able to watch the first episode. because every channel pretty much had it.
You don't see that these days.
No, you don't, because instead of production studios doing it, the TV channel pays for it. So Fox pays for the show
Yeah.
rather than Paramount paying for the show. So anyway, so the show started to, has really kind of grown has kind of latched on as like a new form of science fiction that's really old that I get to watch. And it helps. Jay, my roommate, is obsessed with Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of explaining things to me, like the Prime Directive, which
He's there to put you back on course when if you stray a little bit.
yeah, he's explaining things to me. And one of the things about Star Trek that's cool is, for the most part, they really do try to stick to science some way. And that's kind of cool. So anyway, I mean, if to you, Chris, if you decide you want to watch it, watch it.
I would give it a shot. I do like the concept of Star Trek. I really, really, really like the idea of, future naval battles of, I'm big into pirates. I
Yeah.
love pirates. And to think of a space version of, ship-to-ship warfare in that sort of like not starfighters of dogfighting, but in, broadsiding and tactical maneuvering and whatnot. That stuff is cool to me, and that's why I really did dig the movies, because the story was good. Everything about it was good.
Yeah.
It's just the package. I could never really get into the old school Star Trek. It always seems so obviously filmed on a soundstage,
Well, definitely, or maybe not. I mean, they could have been filmed. Actually, I think it was filmed on set, like an actual set, because
And that might be true of Next Generation, but the old school one a lot of it was on a soundstage.
yeah.
The original OG Star Trek, yeah.
Okay, but yeah, it's I kind of like it. There's none of that space battle. I've not read into any of that yet, other than a few. I shoot torpedoes at you. You shoot torpedoes at me. I've not seen anything other than that.
Oh, well then maybe I'm lining myself up to get disappointed then.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the reason I started with Next Generation is because it's Patrick fucking Stewart.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
But I guess Deep Space Nine is another one, and that's more warlike. So you might have a little bit more of that. Like basically, the way Jay explained it to me is the Next Generation is very episodic. It's kind of like watching Law and Order. You watch one episode, and you have everything in that episode.
It's a microcosm that you can just kind of go, okay, season 6, episode 12. I'm gonna watch that today.
Right, like whereas Deep Space Nine, I guess, is a little bit more of a serial
Continuity.
Yeah, so that one I think has more war. I'm gonna watch that one after I finish the 7 seasons of Star Trek.
How many episodes per season?
Like 15 or 20.
It's not so bad.
No, it's not too bad. It's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to
7
it.
seasons. I put more of my time into How I Met Your Mother. I think I could put some time into actual science fiction.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother and that awful ending.
Well, I hear that. I heard that it leaked on the whatever. This is totally off topic from science fiction, so I'm going to talk 3 more seconds on it. But they leaked the DVD alternate ending, and everyone's really happy about it. And I haven't seen it yet. And now we're done talking about that.
Yeah. Anyway, so one of the things we've talked about on the show is the potential inevitability of us destroying our planet.
Yeah, it's been a pretty common theme actually.
And one of the things to ensure the propagation of our species is building a space colony.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like about the site io9.com is they really have a lot of great discussions that pop up. I hate Gawker Media. I think they're a bunch of fucktards, and I think they treat their people like shit, but this is a cool site. Anyway, so what they've published today is 8 things we can do now to build a space colony this century.
This century, as in like
the 21st century.
nice.
So basically, what this is just a list of different things that could be done. So the first one is actually save Earth.
Yeah, that's gonna take some doing.
But the reason I say that is because the galaxy is pretty difficult. Like, it's really hard to think about living in the galaxy. So, if we go to a space colony, it's because we're expanding, not because we have no other choice.
Yeah.
So we're never going to replace Earth. We're only going to go farther.
Yeah, but, I mean, there's definitely truth to that. I don't think we have to save Earth. I think we have to make sure that Earth is still habitable for us. Like, Earth is going to be fine. We're not.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's very true. Earth will never cease to exist unless we literally blow it up, and I don't think we have the nuclear power to destroy
No,
Earth.
the Death Star is still years away, so that's not happening.
Though you heard about a few years ago how a huge group of Americans petitioned to create the Death Star.
I did hear about this, and this was under the I forgot what it is, but we need to have so many signatures in a petition, and the government has to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and
they did.
Yeah. So anyway, the first thing you have to do is really accept the fact that a space colony is not a new home; it's just a second home. You know, kind of like I have my apartment in New York City, and then when I'm really really rich, I have my Hamptons home.
Yeah. Okay.
The second thing that you need to do is change the way the U.S. government plans space missions.
Yeah, we've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yeah, basically to death. And it's awful, so I'm going to completely skip it.
Yeah, we already know the NASA doesn't have, or government does not have its priorities in order for NASA. We're spending way too much money. Private sector is where it's at. Go gadget. Next point.
I mean, the only thing I will say is what they mean in
when I say go gadget. Next point.
No, I know. Basically, what they mean by this is pick a mission and then develop technology for it. So if the mission is to go to Mars, develop technology for that rather than just developing technology and then seeing what happens.
Yeah, sort of flip the order a little bit.
Have a goal. And the goal being getting to Mars.
Work towards a goal and not just build shit and say, hey, well, wonder what we could do with this shit.
Right, exactly. So, and have your budget be that way, so maybe it's Earth to Moon again, and then maybe it's, a new International Space Station, and then it's an asteroid in native orbit, and then maybe it's more lunar landings, and then checking out Martian moons, and then making an actual outpost on the moon, and then all right, now we're going to Mars.
I think we got to resubmit this Death Star petition. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. But basically, it's they're suggesting 30 years it could be to get to Mars. I think that's crazy. But basically, by getting the budget straight, you could really do a lot of great things over time. So
focus on a goal.
Yeah, and I think if you have a goal, like one thing I'll say about humanity is humanity really does do great things. Like we're awful in so many ways, but as a species, we're also capable of doing so much if we have a goal.
Absolutely.
And I think that having that goal would be really helpful. So, the third thing, because go gadget, next point.
Yeah, right. Come on.
The third thing that they suggest is developing 3D printing in space.
Okay.
So you know what 3D printing is, right?
I do.
Okay. So one of the big problems with having a space colony is, could you imagine the supply chain if you had to bring everything from Earth?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, give them the ability to create whatever the fuck they need up there.
Yeah. So what they could suggest is, and it's NASA technologist Les Johnson who says, we mine asteroids for their raw materials and then make solar arrays, colony structural materials from those near-Earth asteroids. You can mine comets because comets are actually like flying ice balls.
Yeah.
You can mine comets for water and then take that water for drinking, bathing, radiation shielding, electrolyzing into hydrogen and oxygen for rocket propellant and for use in fuel cells.
And is this fresh water?
Yeah, I mean it's ice. Yeah, I mean comets, like when a comet flies by, what you're effectively seeing is that water evaporating.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I'm pretty sure about that. Whereas a comet, when it's just in the middle of the galaxy with no sun around, it's just a hunk of frozen rock.
Yeah.
But once it gets closer to the sun, you see the long tail is because the ice is breaking off. Huh. So mine those comets for water, and comets are going by all the time. Obviously the big one that we all know about is Halley's Comet.
Yeah.
Which unless they cure death, that we won't probably see before we're dead. But that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
So the fourth thing they suggest is let space tourists take vacation in orbital hotels.
Okay, don't we need orbital hotels first?
Huh?
Don't we need orbital hotels
well,
first?
Yeah, but you build them.
Okay.
You
So
know?
then that should be step 4 then.
That is step 4. It's have orbital hotels and let people go there.
I'm just being a dick. Yeah, okay.
All right. So basically, the reason you do that is to collect data, and the concept is you want to let these people go to space and see how they react. You know, you don't want to put people in there for years, but let them go for a weekend. Go to space, see it.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're going to have colonies, we have to be sending massive amounts of people to said colonies, and
yeah.
who knows the sort of training they have to undergo. I mean, you know how much training it takes to be an astronaut.
Right, you know, but I think if we can get to the point where that's not a problem, and I don't think we're that far off.
Probably not.
You know, if SpaceX can supply the space station, SpaceX can fly people to that space station. And the thing is it's not as if people wouldn't be willing to pay for it.
Oh no, I'm sure there'd be people lining up for it.
Yeah, and
aren't there people already lining up for it? I've heard about people like signing up for orbital flights with SpaceX.
There's like Virgin Galactic. There's
Virgin Galactic as well.
Jeff Bezos has a company as well. You know, he's not fine just having Amazon. He also wants to control space. I don't know how big of a retail market there is in space, but whatever. So you know, so the issue is people want to do it. It's whether, you know, it's the liability of it. You know, is what happens if the rocket blows up, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's that's one way, because it'll get people used to space. It'll give us a better understanding of how people could survive en masse in space, which is, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Number 5. Oh, and just going back to that, capitalism, you know, is a cool thing, and if you create this environment for people to go to space and sleep there and live there, you'll have companies who are making a ton of money investing in making it better.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a snowball effect.
Exactly.
If it happens, when it happens.
The next one is number 5. Figure out how ecosystems work.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That's kind of a blanket
Yeah. So
statement.
basically, their argument, and this goes to the idea of terraforming a little bit, is if we go to a new planet and there is no life on that planet, we're going to have to make life on that planet.
Yeah.
And therefore, we better understand really how ecosystems work. For example, let's say, and this comes straight from the article, this is a PhD student, Hedvig Nedsen at Université de Quebec à Montreal.
All right.
This student said, let's say we decide to bring a specific useful insect because it pollinates coffee plants. Well, then we also have to bring the parasitoid bug that kills our bug, because there'd be too many of our bug. And to make sure there aren't too few bugs, we have to bring the parasitoid that kills the parasitoid that in turn kills our bug.
Well, that's the funny thing about, because effectively at this point we're playing God.
Yeah.
Because the ecosystem is a food chain, and it's you know, it was created not by us. We are a part of it.
Yeah.
And so to try to recreate it, that's why when you first read this point, I'm like, oh, that's all. Just try to figure out how
everything works.
Everything works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Although I already scrolled down to the next point, and it seems like it's just getting a little more ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing. Is now we start getting into some crazy things. You know, number 6 is build a giant sun umbrella with robots.
Sun umbrella with robots. Why can't we just build it with like people? I mean, people need jobs. Why do we have to give it to robots?
I don't even, because it's going to have to be built 930,000 miles away.
So what?
I have no idea. I don't even know what he means. Like this
Some people are willing to travel for their jobs.
Yeah, I guess. Really, what it comes down to for this one for me is, you know, some people have some really pie in the sky ideas.
Or giant umbrella in the sky ideas.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's to block some of the sun, or maybe to redirect the sun. I don't even know. I'm gonna skip that one. Number 7.
Oh.
Number 7, and this is actually the key one, because
we are authorities on this, folks.
Oh yeah,
Just an FYI.
we're authorities. Number 7. Study how DNA repairs radiation damage. Now this is a big one, because on the Earth.
Oh, this one makes sense.
Yeah. On the Earth, we have a magnetic field that blocks radiation.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, yeah, it shields the planet's surface from the radiation that the sun creates. When you're in space, you don't really have that, which is why you wear those massive suits, which is why you're only in space for a little while, which is why, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, which is why effectively in Fantastic Four they get so royally fucked up because of radiation.
Well, royally fucked up. They get superpowers. Maybe let's not draw that.
But it's radiation that does that, and other stuff, I guess. So the idea is you need to be able to fix that. You need to be able to prevent radiation. There are ways to do that now. There are blueberries. Blueberries are actually a great way to prevent against radiation, or it at least mitigates the effects.
And tasty too.
Yeah, and it's basically you want to try and understand how to repair that damage because it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, by the human race becoming not just a terrestrial race, but a race that exists in space, that's going to just be a natural thing that we're going to have to deal with. Now, we could just wait,
For what?
For evolution to do its thing,
Yeah, but here's the thing about evolution.
Adaptation and whatnot.
Yeah, but adaptation, it's only So evolution, we think of evolution backwards. We think of the tree is too tall, so therefore the giraffe develops a longer neck. It's the opposite. The giraffe develops a longer neck by accident, and then is able to eat food that's taller up in the air, whereas the lower giraffes can't. Mm-hmm. So therefore, the giraffe with the longer neck has an advantage. So therefore, they survive.
Yes.
So it's not a mutation in evolution doesn't come because of a need. It comes by accident, and if it's a dominant trait, it takes over.
Okay.
So in this case, we wouldn't develop a resistance to radiation because we need radiation resistance. What would potentially happen is one dude happens to be resistant to radiation just as we go into space.
Yeah.
And we go, oh my god, this dude's resistant to radiation. Give me...
Let's cut him open and take his blood.
Right. So, and then, anyway, moving on so we can get off this. We're beating this to death. The number 8 is educate people about our connection to space. I don't need to say anything else.
No, I think that's pretty bottom line. If people stop thinking about the Kardashians and start thinking about how our race is going to survive the next million years.
Yeah.
It's a pretty basic thing, but it's also something that it's difficult to think about because it is so big picture. It's like everything that we're talking about is not in our lifetime, basically.
Yeah.
So as fun as it is to think about, it kind of
it's why people
gets pushed into the back burner to how am I going to pay next week's bills?
Well, yeah, it's kind of why people have a hard time accepting global warming or investing for retirement. Is if it doesn't affect them immediately, they can't conceptualize it.
Yeah, exactly. It's reaction as opposed to preparation.
All right, so let's talk about what I really want to talk about.
Okay.
Now that we've gone on for a half hour already.
37 minutes.
Yeah, so this is going to be a long episode today, guys. Normally we go 45 minutes. This one might go a little longer because this next topic, I've been looking forward to this since I mean,
since you found it during last week's recording.
Pretty much. So, Chris, do you think that there are aliens out there?
Yes.
Now, what kind of aliens do you think they are?
I don't know. I haven't seen one. I'll let you know when I meet one.
No, but do you think that they're just like us? Do you think that they're, say, insectoid, like a lot of science fiction with bugs? Do you think that they're lizards?
I think it depends on what you define as... I think our first alien contact is going to be with single-cell organisms or something like that. It's not going to be... Unless they find us, we're going to find them. And if we find them, I don't anticipate them being like us. No. So I guess that my answer is no, not like us, unless they find us.
In which case they are like us. So, anyway, the reason I ask is... we haven't found them yet. At least
not yet.
In our recorded history, which, admittedly, in the cosmos is really fucking short.
Yeah.
Recorded history is what? 5,000 years? 10,000 years?
Exactly.
If that. Right? So
I don't know the number, but it's not over 1 million.
It's not even over... It's not...
100,000.
Yeah, it's not...
I know.
So...
Yeah.
there are some theories because people, and what I really grapple with this issue is people have this concept of humanity as we have reached the pinnacle of our society, so therefore we should meet everything now.
Huh.
Because, like, RAR, why aren't they not here yet? Like, why have they never found us yet? Like, whoa, what's the problem? And like, so there are many arguments as to why that isn't the case. And one of them is that there's nothing else in space.
Yeah.
We are it. That's called the Great Filter. There is the concept of rare earth. Well, not that there's nothing else in space, but that
Well, yeah,
there's
the Great Filter specifically is that advanced civilizations eventually destroy themselves before acquiring the capacity to colonize space.
well that is very true. But basically we never actually get to the point of being in space, and
Exactly.
that's preventing it. The other one, this one, it blows my mind, and this is the egotism of humanity that I can't stand. Is
Okay.
the rare earth hypothesis,
Yeah.
which suggests that the emergence of life was extremely improbable for a confluence of reasons. In other words, we hit the jackpot.
Well, I think we did in some way, but that's not to say that, other people win jackpots, not just one
Well,
person.
I mean, think about it. How many people typically win the lottery when it's 100 million people?
One.
Well, no. That's when they win the jackpot. But usually, someone doesn't ever win the super jackpot. There's always like 2 or 3 people who get the prize.
Yeah.
Now think about the fact that there's more planets than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean-
This is exponentially bigger than the lottery.
Yeah, I mean the universe is just so fucking huge. Like, why haven't we run into aliens? Because they probably haven't gotten to us.
Yeah.
Like they just haven't gotten here yet because the universe is so big.
Exactly.
And
I don't buy the rare earth thing for a second. I mean, I buy it to an extent that, yes, we did hit the jackpot, but I don't think that we're the only ones. I think you're right that now we're in the 21st century and that we've, learned how to use electricity for over 100 years. That we're now like, where are all the aliens at? Come on, guys, we're ready for you. Come on. Where you at?
Yeah, and that just that mentality kind of annoys me a little bit.
It's ignorant.
Yeah, it is. And really, it's, yeah. I mean, I could go on about it. I mean, really, it's people wanting to believe that they're special, and when you add the fact that there could be thousands of species out there, or thousands of advanced cultures out there in the galaxy, it kind of diminishes our specialness.
You've only just started looking at the stars.
Yeah, so I don't know. The other idea is just the very basic improbability of life, which basically to get where we are, there are many, 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 many steps.
Well, this kind of sounds like it's a little bit in line with the rare earth principle.
Well, yes and no. Rare Earth says that the environment was perfect for this to happen.
Okay.
Improbability of life says it's not so much that it's the environment, it's the biology behind how it happens.
Okay.
So there are a few steps, 3 critical steps for this concept of the Great Filter, which prevents life from going on further. Number 1, the emergence of reproductive molecules, which is
Okay.
abiogenesis and the emergence of RNA. RNA is a single-stranded molecule that kind of is used to create DNA. So
Ribonucleic.
yeah,
acid.
basically, it's been a while since I've taken biochemistry, but it's basically you need DNA for RNA to function, but you need RNA for DNA to function, but they say RNA is capable of reproducing through autocatalysis. Anyway, so for anything to happen, you need that ability. That's step 1. Step 2 is you need the creation of a simple single-celled life, prokaryotes. This is very basic single-cell organisms. Nothing that they're not traveling. Actually, they are probably in space, because while they are simple cells, they are really, really resistant.
Yeah.
Their systems are so basic that nothing really destroys them.
Exactly.
Except soap and water, by the way. So wash your hands. And then the third is
The more you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Okay, moving on.
That's our intro. And then number 3 is those single-celled life prokaryotes. They evolve into complex single-celled life eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are what we are comprised of. And I really think a lot of that has to do with the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. Anyway, so to get from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 is wicked hard. And don't get me wrong, that's true. You know, like, to put it in another, another way, like 1 billion years after the formation of the Earth, this RNA started to happen. It was formed.
Yeah.
Right? So then time goes on, and then about 3.5 billion years ago, suddenly we have prokaryotes. Right? And then another 1.8 billion years go by and nothing happens. Nothing. And then because of some evolutionary step, a mistake, a mutation, we get eukaryotes.
And then the snowball begins, and,
right, exactly.
and several, it's really crazy to think about on that scale, but that's how it all went down.
So, there are, in this conversation, there were a ton of discussions going back and forth. One person said, this is all going back to the concept of whether the aliens or not. One girl said, the galaxy is so old and we're so young, there should be tons of other civilizations. And they should be way ahead of us and spread out all over the place. But there's absolutely no observable trace of them. To which I say, why?
Well, and this sort of goes to the Great Filter, if I'm not mistaken, in that, and you see it in ourselves as well as the human race. We have the means to destroy ourselves 12 times over, and we're not much closer to interstellar travel.
No, I mean, we're not. We haven't even gotten to the next planet.
Exactly. So, I mean, there could be a little bit of something to that whole Great Filter principle. And the headline of this article that we're referencing, which is on IO9, the headline is, "Have humans already conquered the threat of extinction?" I don't think so.
I mean, the argument is because we got past, step 1, step 2, step 3, maybe we already got past the Great Filter. The headline is kind of sensationalism. There's really nothing about extinction here other than our ability to kill ourselves.
Exactly.
But I think, really, for me, there are aliens out there, and there are other civilizations out there, and there might be even civilizations with multiple space colonies out there.
Yeah.
There are, there are a couple of reasons why they're not here yet. Number 1, if physics is true, and faster than light travel is impossible, they're never going to get here. They're just not. Maybe a satellite does. Maybe they launched it 1,000 years ago, and they, and it's almost here. That maybe I can see that happening. But if physics is not, if physics says we can't go faster than light, and there's no getting around that, physics is physics is physics. Whether it's here or there, it's physics. So therefore, it's never going to happen.
But yesterday's physics was today's science fiction.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Yesterday's science fiction, today's physics. But the laws of physics are what they are. That being said, I'm sure for some reason in my gut, I feel that it's possible to travel faster. So
I think so too.
Anyway, or at least I hope there is, because it's pretty depressing otherwise.
No, look. How long have we been noticing the stars, and we've already figured out how to get to the moon? Like, we're nowhere near done hashing out all this physics nonsense. I mean, I'm not going to be the one to do it, but someone out there is going to discover this crap.
So and that's true. The second thing, and the other one, it goes back to the simple fact that the universe is huge.
Yes.
So if even there's just one other civilization out there, right, but it's on the other side of the Milky Way, why come all the way here?
Yeah, right.
Like, focus on your side of the Milky Way. If you're building an empire or you're building multiple colonies, focus on that side of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I can't see any reason why they would come here. The only way that's really possible is if like there's another civilization at Alpha Centauri and we're racing to see who can get to who first, which is weird to think about, but you know.
Good idea for a. Never mind.
So, you know, before we got on the show today, I got into a discussion with Jay about this, and one of the things we talked about is if aliens do come here, what are they going to be like?
I don't know.
And let me explain that question. Are they coming here as scientists, as peaceful people who are just exploring the galaxy, or are they coming here with nefarious intentions?
It's impossible to answer that question because we only know what we know from the context of our own eyes and our own lives. What another species could be like could be entirely different.
All right, but why?
Maybe they just want to come here and break dance. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but a species that has gotten so advanced that they're able to travel around in space,
Yeah.
they must have a purpose for coming here. Maybe it's just to watch us. Maybe we're a science experiment.
If they can come to us, you can bet your ass they went other places as well.
Yeah, you know, so it's so his argument is that if they're coming here for the absolute worst of intentions.
I agree.
I don't know if I agree. Like,
Well, actually, I don't even know if they'd bother coming here because if they're that advanced to get to us, why bother making landfall?
why not? There's another planet.
I don't know. Now we're trying to think in the minds of aliens.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if they can come here, they obviously have the ability to get here quickly. If,
Yeah.
you know, unless we are trying to think of aliens as humanity where we like empires and they don't, but, you know, the concept of more, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't want to take us over. But then what do they do with us? Do they just kill us? Do they use us as slave labor?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got to wonder those things. In the context of our own planet, there exists this ecosystem that is defined by survival of the fittest and instinctual, you know, self-preservation, and that sometimes is mistaken for evil, in my opinion. I don't think it is evil. I think evil exists, but I don't think people are inherently evil. I think they're inherently selfish and inherently primal
Yeah.
in their instincts, and they don't care about other people, which is lack of empathy. That's not necessarily, you know, malice.
Yeah, I can see that. You know.
So that's the context of our planet. Now, does that exist in other ecosystems? Not on this planet. If we assume yes, then what would be their motivation to come here to begin with? More land, more territory.
Okay, so therefore their ideas are nefarious.
That I'm only offering up options at this point, or maybe it's reaching out a hand and saying, "Hey, look." I mean, I
But
could speculate all day.
no, but let's think about it. So you said reaching out a hand and saying, "Hey, so let me introduce you to the galaxy."
Yeah, but and that there's I think and I'm sort of backpedaling and talking myself out of it now because I guess the risk of that.
Well, yeah. If the basic idea of evolution is survival of the fittest, why would an advanced species that has solved the faster than light problem willingly accept another species into the galaxy?
Unless we go back to sleeper cell aliens and they find value in our society that they don't have.
Well, you know, and
Maybe they don't know how to love, Jacob. Maybe they don't know how to love.
well, you know, one of the things that I've seen in stories, and it's actually the story that I'm writing, is we make really good soldiers.
So I've heard.
You know, I mean, but then in other science fiction, we don't. You know, Star Trek. You know, Jay was telling me that we're perceived as very average.
Yeah.
You know, we don't make great soldiers. What we do have is a lot of guts and a lot of determination.
Well, and that's sort of like even in Mass Effect as well. That's Commander Shepard is a human, this new race to the galaxy, but he defies the odds. He says, "No, I'm a human being. I do what I want." And he does what he wants. And something happens at the ending, and Jacob loves it, and I hate it, but that's another conversation entirely.
We'll talk about that sometime. But yeah, you know, it really kind of, it's something to grapple with. Is like, I don't believe in this concept of there are no aliens out there. I don't believe that there is no solution to the faster than light problem. I think that there is a solution. I don't think we know what it is yet. You know, physics used to just be what we see, and then there was suddenly the quantum universe, you know, and quantum mechanics that we didn't understand until just very recently. So I think there's a lot for us to learn still. So I think from that perspective, I think that yes, the difficulty of life is there, but the galaxy is so massive that it's bound to have happened at least one other time, if not many other times.
Absolutely. The fact that we're thinking, are they out there? The question we should be asking is, when were they out there? How many of them have come and gone at this point? And you know what? I mean, I think there is something to this filter principle. I don't know. I feel like the great filter makes a little bit of sense, and I don't think it's overarching and absolute, but I think it does. At least looking at our own race, realistically speaking, I see us destroying ourselves before achieving our main goals. At least in the course that we're headed right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Here's another potential theory, and actually, it's Mass Effect that introduced this to me, and it was in one of the expanded content. When you get to have in your group in the third game the Prothean.
I do.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. You get to have a Prothean. If you have not played Mass Effect 3, I even beat you to it. Like, seriously, just get on it.
It's been out for years.
Just get on it. So, you remember how his reaction to humans? Oh, wait, you guys are in space now? When I saw you last, you were just a bunch of, dudes with sticks.
Yeah.
Maybe aliens have already been here.
Well, and that's and that's another pretty realistic thing. There are things like Stonehenge and the pyramids of Egypt that don't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's say, the galaxy is huge. So exploring the galaxy would take time. And why go back to the same place twice if there's nothing there of interest?
We were the 7-Eleven on their freaking road trip through space.
Right. So they stopped at our
They stopped for a Slurpee and moved on.
They stopped at our planet, saw that there's nothing of interest here other than a bunch of non-sentient, we couldn't even communicate all that well.
Decide to put some rocks in places that would confuse the shit out of us for thousands of years.
Right. And then they move on, So maybe they've already been here once and they're on their way back. Maybe they've been here 3 times. Maybe they came during the time of the dinosaurs.
Maybe they're here now.
Sleeper cell. But yeah, I can't buy this theory that aliens don't exist just because we haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And you know what? I think if you're listening to a science fiction podcast, you probably agree 110% with us, because that would just be really, really lame if there were no aliens.
Yeah. And really depressing to think about why are we so special?
I don't know. Well, and you know what? And that's why I kind of think there is a little something to the rare earth principle, but I also don't think it's absolute. I think that, yes, the earth is a rare thing. Do I think that other solar systems couldn't have that happen? I just think we haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. And we will see it, we will definitely see it.
I hope in our lifetime, man. I want to see aliens.
Actually, and this is the last point, and then we're gonna end the show. If we're going to see aliens, we have programs like SETI, SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, where we shoot out radio waves, and maybe that's not the best of ideas. Well, no, think about it. If we shoot out a radio wave and we get the attention of an alien, and an alien's able to get here, yeah, they're better than us.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you really want to invite something that's better than us?
I don't know. That's a good point you're making.
So maybe we should just shut the fuck up and just keep building our civilization up and try and get to, space travel and maybe then go and find aliens. Find them rather than be found.
But maybe the radio messages are like the beloved music of Queen or something like that. Or just things that can't make people upset. Like, we have to go to this amazing place and listen to Freddie Mercury.
And then they freak out because Freddie Mercury died of AIDS, and they kill the entire planet because...
No. Then they bring him back with their super awesome technology.
All right. So anyway...
An optimist.
Yeah, you're an optimist. So anyway, I think that aliens are real, and that's that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
59 minutes, by the way.
Hey,
right now.
we're gonna make it an hour as I close the episode. Thank you for listening to, what is this, episode 7?
7.
That's crazy.
Right.
Of FTL Radio. For those who listen each week, we really appreciate it. If you're following us or subscribing to us on iTunes or Stitcher, please leave reviews. 5-star reviews would be great. If you don't like us, leave, not 5-star reviews, but if you don't like us, just don't listen to us.
And big shout out to Chris Brown. He is the only person to have commented on our Facebook page. I just wanted to say we know you're out there and we appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/FTL Radio, Twitter, twitter.com/FTL Radio. Obviously, you can send us an email if you want, info@FTL Radio. And as always, we appreciate you listening.
Yes. We always appreciate you listening, and now I gotta pee. So we out!